to Think Responsibly. I am Cordelia, but y'all can call me Coco. I'm here with my guest, Tyrone. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tyrone Wheeler. I'm a guest of Cordelia. Should I just talk about, my background or what I do professionally?
Yeah, you can. You can just tell them like what you do, your credentials, that kind of stuff.
So I'm a school psychologist by profession. I have been for the past 5 years. I work for Chicago Public Schools right now. So right now I work with youth, but long term I plan to do counseling and therapy for adults as well. So
Definitely need that.
yeah,
These days.
yeah.
So, like I said, welcome back. This is episode 2, and today is Super Bowl weekend, and I'm just really surprised that we're here right now. So, shout out to these two. You feel me? Because they really fuck with me on that. No, but this topic I wanted to kind of keep it not necessarily intimate, but just like short and sweet as far as opinions and stuff like that, because I feel like we both open-minded people, and with your background, your education, I feel like you can kind of speak to it real openly and whatever. So today's topic is raised on love and raised on survival, and basically how that relates to people as far as relationships, friendships, career, that kind of stuff. So as far as how would you define the first one? Like, how would you define someone being raised on love?
So I guess when I think of being raised on love, the first thing I think of is the presence of affection. Mm-hmm. So your loved ones telling you that they love you, that they care about you, being involved in your life, and teaching you that the importance of family and togetherness.
Right.
To me, that's what raised on love would be defined with.
Right.
Now the absence of that would be you don't really feel a lot of that affection. It's not a whole lot of I love yous and great jobs. It's more so you have to do this to attain this outcome. If you want to survive or make it on your own, then these are the things that you have to do.
Right.
It's not as lovey-dovey, or they're not gonna really you may not feel the love all the time, but
right.
And it's still love in a different kind of way, I guess.
Exactly. But so basically raised on survival, just like you said, the opposite of all of that. So this topic has been just kind of swirling around. I feel like we in a generation now where people are trying to, I guess you could say, unlearn a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we want to be better with our financials these days. We want to own homes. We want to build that generational wealth, and we want to be better parents. We want to be better friends, better partners. We want to do all that kind of stuff. So coming from all these different backgrounds and cycles, we really have, it's okay to go to school and learn and experience stuff, but it's also bad habits that we should unlearn. You know what I'm saying? So this conversation I pretty much seen just circulating or whatever, and I wanted to just talk about how the two affect not just relationships, but in friendships, in business, and all of that kind of stuff. So how I would define it is somebody raised on love, they're probably more trusting, they're probably more open, and just more willing to give and open up, and they might be a little bit more outgoing or whatever. And when you're raised on survival, you just lack all of that. You know what I'm saying? How do you feel like being raised on survival affects you in a I guess in a way to connect to other people, people who raised on survival?
I think when you're raised on survival, you miss those soft skills in terms of picking up on how you make a person feel about with your actions and the things that you say.
Okay.
And the importance of those things. You're not really, you growing up, there's not really room for that, because there wasn't room for that for you.
Right.
You might have had emotions or feelings about certain things, but that wasn't the focus, because the focus was survival. We have to make certain things happen. There's no room for that.
Exactly.
And so growing up like that, you will forget to make room like that for other people, even as an adult, whether it be romantic or friendships. You're the goal is to make this happen, to maintain the friendship at the end of the day, not to really not to be coddling your feelings and stuff like that. Whereas sometimes you got to do that, to maintain friendships and relationships.
Right. And I feel like that starts in childhood. You know what I'm saying? I forgot this quote or who said it, but it was just like it's easier to raise a strong man than to repair a broken man, something like that. So like
It's easier to raise strong children than
Yeah.
to repair broken men. I
yeah,
think.
yeah, exactly. So I feel like these things are just kind of you can't help it. You know, we not in control of that stuff as kids. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So these things definitely do affect us. Do you feel like the kids are, you know, everything changed with generations. Like with you working in CPS, do you feel like you seeing like a little bit of a difference as far as like our generation and the kids that you working with?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, well, the biggest thing I would say is, you know, we live in the age of social media,
Right.
and so it's affected us differently because we kind of came into it as like younger teens, young adults.
Yeah.
Now to where
true.
we have access to it in our hands, whereas they're much younger, and phones and tablets
They
and
went
things
right
are
into it, yeah.
you know, so that affects their ability to, you know, their social skills with other people because they spend so much time looking at a screen. You know,
Right.
that's and parents sometimes will do it too unconsciously because it gives them something to do.
That's true. Yeah. Like
But
here,
then-
take this iPad.
Exactly.
Or watch
You're
this.
quiet.
Yeah.
You're not bothering me. That's cool.
Right.
But you missing out on like, you know, them being outside playing with peers or being involved in sports or doing other things. Those skills that they get from being around other people. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of our kids are missing that, especially now with a pandemic where we kind of have to be distant from one another.
Yeah, exactly.
So
No,
that's one of the biggest things I feel like I am seeing though working for CPS is a lot of our young kids are coming in with like lacking social skills or how to play with one another, how to interact with kids,
Okay.
how to share, or even just lacking the structure of the school day just because they haven't had to deal with anyone other than, you know, their close family in their homes.
Right.
So now they're in a
Past 2
building, they
years.
got to share and be around all these strangers. It's new to them.
Exactly. I will say the pandemic definitely took a toll on all of that. But like when we was growing up, you know, we was still outside. Like you
Yeah.
said, we came into it as teens. We was still outside, you know. We was not really on our phones, little juke parties and stuff like that. We had all that stuff
And the
going
phones
on.
wasn't you just, you know, you can dial out. You couldn't do all, you ain't have access to all this stuff that
Yeah.
you got now. You know, the
Right.
entertainment that a phone is now, it wasn't like that for us.
Exactly.
We had to find other ways to have fun. And a lot of times that involved interacting with other people our age.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you don't think about how important it is when you're doing it as a kid because, you know, that's just, we feel like that's what kids do. But you really are learning how to interact with people, learning how to empathize with people's feelings, learning how your actions affect other people.
Yeah, you really experiencing it.
Yeah. Versus
exactly.
now they kind of have a little like a limited access to that.
Right.
So you got to be like intentional about teaching them those skills. Otherwise, you'll find yourself get mad at them because they don't have them, but they haven't been in an environment to really learn them.
Exactly. And you kind of, I ain't gonna say responsible, but because you with them a lot of the time. So do you feel like you responsible kind of for teaching them or implementing those things? in the kids?
So I would say responsible in the sense that I'm there to do a job and to provide them with support when they need it during the school day.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't feel responsible in the sense that I'm responsible for their whole mental well-being just
Okay.
because one, school
That's
is
fair.
only like 6, 7, 8 hours a day. And the factors that exist outside of the school building, including me, are much stronger than me. Mom, dad, cousin,
The influence, yeah,
what they have to say is going to be much more influential than me. Even if I am a cool staff and they like me,
Right.
you know that what they are dealing with and at home and in their communities is a lot
Yeah.
more of a stronger factor than me. And I don't want to say that to minimize like the work that educators do or the work that we do with the students. I just say that to say if I like carried the burden of like feeling like I'm responsible for every kid's mental well-being, I wouldn't really be able to do the job for a long time.
Yeah, you would be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about that. Like how the community is different. You know, like when we grew up, it was like, you know, you knew the neighbors, you knew people down the street, you know, okay, my mom going to work, she finna watch me and my siblings or whatever, you know. For a kid that is clearly raised on survival, right? Like, so you see them in school, they might not look like they being well taken care of, they sad, they lashing out. How do you handle that, you know? Like, what kind of things can we, not even just as a teacher, but just like as people, you know, like your cousins or like your friends' kids or whatever, like, what do you think we need to do better to kind of raise these kids better?
I think one of the first things that we can do is make more of a space for our kids and the young people in our lives to feel safe expressing how they feel about things
Yeah,
or
Especially
how
the little boys.
and not really cutting off like their creativity or their self-expression in a bunch of different ways because of how we feel they should be, you know, or not allowing them to access certain emotions because that's, you know, they're boys or little girls aren't supposed to do this, you know, that kind of creates a boundary where our kids don't or kids don't feel like they can talk to their parents or their loved ones. Yeah. And so I think that's a major thing, you know, unconditional love for them and letting them know I'm here. I'm here to listen. I want to hear what you have to say with no judgment. You know, there's no conditions by which I'll feel a different way. And I feel like a lot of times in families there's conditions. You know, I love you. You're my child. I want you to be this way. But should you do this or choose to go this way, then I'm still love you, but not the same, you know, and that I feel like kids know that. And I feel like that's why that unconditional part is what's important. Right. You know, no matter who I am or what I choose to do in my life, my family loves me the same.
I feel like that's the main thing right there.
Yeah.
Just love me unconditionally.
Yeah.
And you a kid. You gonna make mistakes. You know, you learning. Y'all been kids before.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
You know, y'all probably did the worst shit, you know, worse than me, you know. Like, as we get older, I don't know if you can relate, but, you know, you at the barbecue, you at the, you know, dinner with family, and they get drunk and they start talking about, oh, yeah, when I was young, I used to woo, woo, woo. And we just like, what? You know, Miss So Holy, Mr. So Holy, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, I think that's the main thing, just that unconditional love. And like you said, creating a safe space to, because when you mess up, you want to be able to talk to somebody. When you hide it, it gets worse, you know, whatever the case may be. So, on this Sunday, we're going to take you away from work, okay? We're gonna leave the kids alone, you know. Let's get into it. So, what do you say you identify with more, like the raised on love or raised on survival?
I would say I was more raised on love.
Okay.
And I would say that because I grew up with parents who pretty much were able to provide for me and my brothers and I well. Okay. We were able to travel, and we also felt loved by our parents. Right. It wasn't like, you know, you got to get out and get a job and, you know, put in on the bills. And it was like, no, I want you to, you know, be involved in different activities and really go off and figure out what you want to study, you know. Right.
That's love.
That's, you know, versus being like, no, I need you to be here, you know, kind of contributing to the bills.
Yeah, exactly.
So
take away from your youth.
Yeah. So I didn't really have that part of it. Okay.
Do you feel like you've encountered people though? Probably.
Oh, yeah.
That have been raised on survival.
Yeah.
How do you feel like y'all differ, like as people, like as adults? You know what I'm saying? Like you might be like in a relationship, so you might be like a little bit more loving, or you might, you know, look out for your friends in little ways, you know what I'm saying? Versus them, they might like, I ain't gonna say be terrible people, but you know, I'm trying not to be closed-minded about it. But you know what I'm saying? Like, how do y'all differ, like just as people, like in social settings and friendship and relationships?
So I feel like when you're raised on love, you are taught, like I said, how your actions and how the things that you do affect other people, and you are taught like you don't want to make other people feel bad. You don't want to do things to hurt other people. Right. Whereas we're being raised on survival, you got to get it by any means, whether that means hurting somebody's feelings or hurting another person. Right. So as you get older, you know, a person that's raised on survival might do things or behave in ways that isn't always cognizant of the other person's feelings. Exactly. So I needed to do this for me, and that's just really what it needed to be. It's, you know, I don't have the space to really consider like your emotions, and that don't really have any bearing on my decision. Right. Versus me being raised on love, I may not be able to move in certain ways because I'm thinking like, man, I can't do that to that person. I can't make them feel that way. Yeah. You know, but the other person, they don't have those same foundational, you know, values.
And even going like further than just connections with people, do you think they like their path in life, I guess you could say, as far as like career or education, do you think that is affected too? Because we know both sides, people who was raised on survival and use that as their motivation to kind of move in the right direction. Just like, and I know people who was raised on love and just kind of, I ain't gonna say got comfortable, but, you know, felt like everything, entitlement, you know what I'm saying? So as far as like the whole business standpoint, do you feel like that affects like each, like people's path and everything? Like in what way?
So I would say to your point you just made, I feel like there are people who might have been raised on love and who are used to life being a certain way, or to not really having to feel the reality of life sometimes, or how heavy things can be when you don't have your life together, you know? because family, when you raised on love, they're gonna always have your back. They're gonna always be there for you in that way. Whereas a person that's raised on survival, they don't really have that to fall back on.
Right.
So their main motivation usually is, okay, I have to make this happen because I need to make a living for myself. I need to have some type of foundation set for myself.
Right.
And so a lot of times that does drive them to excel. And I feel like you do see that often, like, that's kind of the people who, I guess, quote unquote, make it out the hood, grow up in rough situations, but then they find their path to excel and they choose to make a different outcome.
Yeah.
I feel like there's always exceptions to the rule. Like,
always, yeah. It's always like people going different ways, I guess. Like, I want to talk about like hip hop now, or just like rap, right? So I feel like a lot of people getting exposed as far as like, oh, you ain't really grow up like that. Like, you ain't really deal with that. You know what I'm saying? You ain't really live this life. And I think it was Rick Ross. It was somebody who basically said, like, I mean, you got to think about it. Like, when you really in it, you trying to get out of it. These boys, they like want to go to the hood. Everybody trying to go to O Block now. Everybody trying to come here now and take these pictures. It's like, when you was really raised like that, you don't want to come back. You know what I'm saying? You really trying to make it out. Yeah. So I just feel like it's weirdly glamorized. You know what I'm saying? To be like, why is that? Like, why is it so Like, why is it so cool to just be in the trenches?
Well, I think it's cool because it presents a certain image or persona. But when it comes to the reality of being in the trenches, they don't really want that.
Facts.
The struggle that
it
comes with being in the trenches. They see the appearance or how, the swag of how a person carries themselves, and they associate that with being in the trenches or being from the hood, when really that's just how a person just chooses to carry themselves. They don't really mean that
it's
they're
unintentional.
And like you said, I think that's a great point Ross made. Like, when you really in it, you're not trying to glamorize the space you in. No, you're trying to get you and your people out of that, or change that whole environment, not kind of contribute more to it.
Yeah.
So
exactly,
that's a lot of the ways that you can kind of tell like the real from the people who not.
They overdoing it. They over glamorizing, like, just being in that.
Overcompensating. Like, if you really from that, and that's people, well, you don't really need to validate yourself.
Exactly. And then, like, when you raised on love, I feel like I think Lil Baby is a good example of this, because he really gives back. You know what I'm saying? Like, the people who really go to the hood or whatever and they give back, they probably got like a housing, affordable housing or whatever. And they do stuff for the kids and stuff like that. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can tell, like, when they go there, the people know them. They can name this block. They can name this block, So it's just a lot of cap with that going on. It's annoying, because it's really a lot going on in music. It's just killing people, and everybody want to be from the trenches. Everybody want to be like this.
And the sad part is, I think that rappers, they make the music, and it may not be how they living for real, like you said.
Right.
But it's influencing the people that listen to it.
Right.
And so I don't care what anybody says, like, music doesn't make you behave in a certain way, but it does. Music makes you feel a certain way. When you listen to certain songs, it affects your mood. When you listen to a certain song, it can make you sad or make you emotional.
Right.
It can make you feel teed up and want to go out. It depends on what you're listening to. So I feel like a lot of our youth are listening to a lot of the music that's like glorifying violence and gun violence and, degrading women. And they're living that out. And to like a lot of these rappers, it's just a persona. This is, I'm selling this because this is what people want to see. But I go back to my house and I don't have to, that's not really how I am,
Exactly. Like, I think 21 was the one who said it. He was like, I'm an actor, I'm like Denzel, you know what I'm saying? I come in the booth, I talk my shit, and I take off my costume, and, I go to my penthouse type shit. So, do you think two people, one person raised on love, one raised on survival, you think those people can, like, make it in a relationship?
I think so. In fact, I think that can be a very good relationship, because both of them can learn from one another. Because I don't want to. I feel like when this conversation happens, it can automatically become like being raised on love is automatically better than being raised on survival. Because I feel like there's pros positives to both. And so I feel like a person that's raised on love could also learn a lot from a person that's raised on survival, because sometimes you're missing some of those hard, I guess, street skills that you need.
Facts, yeah.
Because you're shielded from a lot of things when you're raised on love. Your family don't want you to have to experience certain hurts.
Sheltered,
or,
a little naive too, right? Yeah.
But the reality that the world is cruel. And so a person raised on survival, they probably have had a taste of that. So they like,
right.
I can tell you this is not what we want. You haven't had a taste of it, but I know, you know.
I'm trying to help you.
Yeah. Versus the person that's raised on love, they can also help that person that's raised on survival to be like, it's okay to, be happy and enjoy, the success that you have. And
angry at breakfast, nigga?
So they can both help one another out. I think it could work.
That's true, because I think being raised on survival is not all that bad, because like you said, it kind of prepares you for a lot. And it's nice. Like, you don't want to grow up that way, but it prepares you like as an adult. Like it's nice to grow up in a real comfortable environment, like as a child and stuff like that. But it's just a lot to learn out here, because it's just the reality that, you can't be out here giving your all to just everybody.
Because you would end up used up.
End up with nothing. Yeah, you would just end up depleted and end up hating everybody.
And see, that's where that being raised on survival was essential, because if you just really going off of being raised on love, you're just going to be out here heartbroken.
Right, exactly.
Like, damn, the world is such a cruel place. Nobody really gets to talk about me,
Right.
Versus being
That's
like, no, that's how the world works. I got to get mine. We got to figure it out.
Exactly. Versus being raised on survival, when shit happens, you just like, hey, it's another day. You know what I'm saying? That's a fact. But it's just, I'm just happy people are talking about it, because, like I said, I feel like we trying to unlearn these, like, these patterns that have been brought onto us as like kids and stuff. And I see a lot more men opening up about that. So let's get into like men's mental health.
Okay.
So what are like 3 main components you feel like can contribute to like a man's mental health, as far as like, what, like, obviously we need to create those spaces for them to be able to be human, because we treat them like they, strong men or whatever. So, and they are in their own right. But as far as like men's mental health, like, what do you feel like needs to happen, like societal, I guess, like what just needs to happen?
So, well, I mean, I think,
what do we need to stop?
Well, I feel like even going back to when you said like, what are like 3 components of it? Because I feel like I haven't ever thought of like what 3 components or I guess parts of men's or contributors to men's mental health could be. But even when you first said that, I started thinking.
Right.
And so I feel like as a man, one of the first things that is going to affect my mental health is my finances. And I feel like anybody that like watches this or sees this as a man, when your finances are not right, you just don't really have peace.
Right.
When you don't really know how things are going to work out, especially if you are in a position where you're the provider for other people.
Oh, yeah.
So now it's like, okay, I don't have peace of mind. My mental is off. I can't even really be kind or sweet to people. I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet.
Okay.
So that's one of the biggest ones. Another one I feel like is self-awareness. So I feel like a lot of times men can get caught up in like the life that they feel that they're supposed to live, or how they're supposed to be, versus the person that they are.
Oh, okay.
And the skills that they have and the life that they have. And so instead of living in their true being and the skills that they have and what they're designed to do, they kind of will chase after like a certain image or a certain idea of what they're supposed to be. So really being self-aware is really like how you have peace of mind and mental stability.
Right.
And then if I had to think of another one, I would say spirituality, whether you have it or whether you're a spiritual person or you're not.
Or like a religious person.
Yeah. And I guess I chose not to say religious, because I feel like a lot of people may not identify with a specific religion or the same religion as the next person, but they can say that they're spiritual. They have a relationship with the higher being.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's really another contributor to your mental health too, because life can be cruel and life will throw things at you that don't make sense sometimes. Things happen, your loved ones die, things happen to you. You might just get down on your luck, you might get sick in ways that don't make sense to you.
Right.
And so having that spiritual connection sometimes, well, no, all the time, is going to be important, because that kind of helps you make sense of
Right.
things that life throw at you.
Right.
Because if you don't have that, it's easy to kind of just be like, okay, I really just don't. Why am I really here? Why am I living? What's my purpose?
Yeah. So it's good to like be still and just like listen and really let your thoughts like, one by one, like really deal with all of them. You're right. I do see that a lot. So do you feel like being a man, like if your finances aren't together and your spirituality not together and everything, do you feel like, okay, this is another quote that I read from somebody, but it's basically like, if you don't have your money together, you ain't got your mind together, you don't need to be dating, you don't need to be going out, you don't need to be in a club, you don't need to be doing none of that, you know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of that too is discipline, you know what I'm saying? And just to like speak on the women's side of it too, I feel like, I talked about this in the first episode too, it was just like, we're expected to deal with all these things like worrying about marriage and having kids and stuff. And, we worry about those things too. Like, what is our purpose? I can't just be out here just worrying about being somebody's wife, you know what I'm saying, or somebody's mama. Because, like, what is really fulfilling me? Because at the end of the day, like you said, I'm just following a crowd and trying to maintain this image of what I feel like I should be doing. You know what I'm saying? And, we see it all the time. Like, men being the provider of the household, and now I have to depend on this man for it, that's another conversation. We don't want to do that, So do you feel like that's the right way to do it? Like, in order to lock in on those things and for your mental health, to get your financial situation together, to find your purpose, to get more spiritual, you know what I'm saying? Do you feel like you should stop with like the dating and the clubs? Like,
yeah. So I do think that could help. Now with dating, I do feel like you need to have certain aspects together before you are trying to enter into any situation with anyone. So to me, finances do need to be at least stable before you are trying to date, because dating can be expensive. Dating costs money, especially as a man. If you want to present a woman with a certain once you set a standard, you have to maintain it. Right. So, and that means that your finances have to be such that you can do that. Right. So I don't think you should be out here trying to date if you kind of really, between jobs, you ain't got it together. Right. Right. And, I feel like spiritually too, because, and this goes for both sexes, men and women, you have to be careful who you connect with in terms of their spiritual energy. Because you could have a great relationship with God and be very spiritual yourself, but you connect with them, and now your whole energy is different. Right. Because you haven't taken the time to realize, okay, this is not our spiritual energy is different. We maybe don't need to date.
Exactly.
So those
just draining.
Yeah. Or she's draining. It could go either way.
Exactly.
And so those are things I feel like you want to be mindful of.
Yeah, I think that's just all across the board. I just feel like I think we'll be better off just as people if we kind of follow our purpose. And I mean, of course, if you find somebody and y'all going through that journey together, ain't nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? But I just don't think things should always be about the relationship. I feel like if you got like a little bit of yourself, like as an individual, you can just kind of go back and forth. Nobody wants to hear, okay, what you doing? What you doing? What you doing? Same thing I was doing, 30 minutes ago. It's nice to be an individual and just to kind of come back and be like, oh, yeah, I did this today. Oh, I did this today, And I feel like it creates kind of a space where you allow each other to be like an individual and stuff. But like you said, you probably shouldn't be, dating if you ain't got it together. I don't know. Like you said, as a man, that's
because
I can't speak to that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying even as a woman, are you interested in dating a man who his finances are like, he's still getting it together? So, yeah. So, that says it right there. And again, I'm not even saying that you're expecting him to be rich or wealthy. It's just stability. It's
stability, yeah. And just trying. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying you got to be a billionaire, but just have something going on, some kind of steady income. You know what I'm saying? Like, just try, I don't, you just laying around, I'm going to get this deal soon, Nah, we not we not doing that. I feel like if it's relative to age too, because in this big girl age, no, I'm not dealing with that. I just feel like if I was in my like late teens, early 20s, then that'd be different. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because we still coming into our own.
Yeah.
So that brings me into a this or that, right? I just like to do these little games or whatever. So, would you rather date someone? Are you in a relationship?
Yes.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
But this is opposite or outside of that, obviously. But would you rather date someone who is raised on love, right? They're very nice, loyal, trusting, woo, 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 but have nothing going on, right?
Okay.
You know, absolutely nothing. Like, just in school, maybe.
Okay.
Debt.
Okay.
Lots of debt.
I got enough of that on my own.
Exactly. So keep that in mind now. No, or somebody who's raised on survival, but they're very detached and, you know, they trying a little bit. You can see they trying, but they're very detached and, you know, they might not have that family dynamic. And I'm sure you seem like, you know, you want to have like a family, but, you know, they just kind of focused on maybe their career. Maybe they are career driven.
Yeah.
Like, which one of those things would you rather have?
So I feel like if I was the answer that I feel like I should give would be
No.
no,
No,
the answer I feel like, no, I'm gonna give you that one too. The answer I feel like I should give would be a person that's raised on survival because, you know, at least I know that, you know, certain things are gonna be taken care of. You know, they're gonna take care of business when it comes to keeping the home straight.
Facts.
But being honest with myself, I know me personally, like one of my love languages are physical touch and quality time.
Okay.
So I value if when I come home, I want the person that I'm with, I want to feel loved by them. I want to feel that they miss me, that they want to be under me. And the person that's raised on survival and detached, you're not gonna get that. You know, they're gonna have the money on the counter for the bills, but other than that, you're not gonna get.
I'm gonna go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm about to go to sleep.
And, you know, that differs for everybody. Everybody don't really need that affection or that attachment. But I feel like for me, in terms of me being in a relationship and sharing a space with somebody, I value that more than just being able to like what you can bring to the table financially.
Right. Yeah.
What about you though?
Oh, the same scenario. Dang, Zara, you supposed to ask me that? I'm gonna say the same thing. I'm gonna say the same thing. I mean, obviously, well, I guess I can talk about my love languages too. I like what are they? Oh my God, quality time,
Physical
touch.
Gifts is one.
I like words of affirmation.
Okay.
I like that, and quality time.
Okay.
I like those. But yeah, I'm just have to go with the one who's on survival and just kind of got his own thing going on because I feel like that can be tweaked. You know, that can be learned because you here for a reason. You know what I'm saying? I feel like as long as you ain't being mistreated, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? If you being mistreated, you shouldn't be there anyway. But the love is just gonna have to come soon. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I can't wait that long for it. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no robot. You know, we got feelings out here too.
Well, I think the reason why I also feel that way too is because I've seen with my in my own personal life, whether it be family or friends, I've seen people try to seeing people love a person because they were a provider for the family. They took care of things financially. Home was straight.
Okay.
But they weren't fulfilled emotionally or mentally by that person. You know, they come home, there was no real affection, no quality time spent.
This the person that was out providing and working. Okay.
And so the person who was at home,
right.
like I said, their needs aren't met. Yeah, the bills are taken care of, all that's taken care of, but they're not getting the other parts that they want.
Right.
And so after a while, that might seem like a small piece at the beginning, but when you're not getting that, it gets bigger and bigger, and that becomes all of it. Like now, I'm not happy in this situation because we got a roof over our head and I got money in my pocket, but I don't feel loved. I don't feel the reason why I'm here that's not enough for me.
Yeah. I'm not here just to be sponsored.
Yeah.
You know, basically.
And so that I feel like that sounds good at first, you know, but then when them nights get a little too lonely and, you know, after a while, it's just like, okay, no, this ain't.
It's bad, but I mean, that's true. Do you feel like that absence of touch, quality time, words about that romance, do you feel like that isn't okay to step out to do emotional cheating?
No.
We ain't gonna talk about the physical stuff.
I am always 100% with the idea that you should always just be honest and cut off a situation before you cheat, whether it's physical or emotional.
Right.
Just because one, I kind of feel like karma is real, and you can't really dish out hurt to people,
Right.
And then expect it not to follow
Happening to you at some point.
Yeah.
I asked that because a friend of mine, it not like going through like the whole exactly what we went through, but it's just like, stuff gets old, I guess, if they've been together for a while. You know what I'm saying? I like say like 10 years or something like that, and like the kind of fire has just kind of died out. And I feel like she'll come to me about like advice. I guess you say, don't ever take no advice from single people. Okay? Don't ever do that.
Right, especially as a person in a relationship.
Yeah, don't take no 10 years. You go take advice from me, But and I'm just like, no, like that's 10 years, bro. That's a long time. Like that's gotta pass. Like something's gotta give. You know what I'm saying? So, and then another guy, like he just be talking about, how women aren't like affectionate or nurturers, I guess you can say, like these days. And how do you feel about that? Like the female dynamic just in romantic relationships these days?
So I feel like it has definitely shifted, right?
Okay.
So you go from like our parents and grandparents generation where the woman's role in the house was a lot different. The woman often wasn't expected to provide in the way that the man was financially. The man took care of those things. The wife was more so took care of the home, the kids, all of that. But now, you see more of you see a major absence of husbands and the father in the home too, which has kind of forced the woman to go into a survival mode almost. It's not really like a loving situation then, because now I gotta provide for the kids that I have and make sure that I'm okay too.
Right.
And so there's no space for women to just be the homemaker and make sure the kids straight, because she gotta take care of, there's nobody to have her back like that.
Right.
And so I feel like that has affected how and I feel like anybody watching this, please do not crucify me, but I feel like I can get myself in trouble by making statements about like these women and stuff like that, and I don't want to do that.
Y'all listen up. I'm just playing. No, you good. It's a safe space.
Yeah, but that's why I feel like a lot of women now have kind of moved to a place of being or raising their children on survival.
Right.
They don't really.
Oh, that's interesting.
They don't really have the time. I mean, they can be intentional and make sure that they are raising their kids on love, but because they are burdened with so much, they may not have it to give to their kids all the time.
Exactly.
And so that makes their kids tough and have that same exterior. And it's not that the mom is to blame. She got a million and one things on her plate,
Yeah, it's like, how do you choose, like, giving my kids everything that I never had and that support and that stability versus having love, but we're lacking.
Yeah.
We got to worry about bills and where we going, if I got help and everything. Man, that's a tough place for, for a woman to be, especially if she wants one day to have that family, that family dynamic. And it's hard because I read that it's like, I think it's 21 women to every one male or something like that. I don't know if that's based on like age or race or anything, but that's a huge gap. You know what I'm saying? And if most women, do have kids and everything, that's just like the reality that that's just. I mean, what can you do?
We're in limited supply.
we done ran out. So, like, as a woman, I feel like the only thing you can really do is what you said. Just kind of focus on yourself. We see like so many women starting businesses, and they're kind of becoming their own boss, and they're able to take care of their kids and maintain a household and everything. And you have so they ain't worried about like, they more choosy. You know what I'm saying? Women are definitely more choosy now.
Well, and I feel like it is not even just. It's like there's been such a generational shift, not even just with women, but with men too. So, I mean, back with our parents' generation and our grandparents, you had. You did have some men who were Rolling Stones, where they had kids here, there, and everywhere, and didn't take care of them.
Down the street.
But you but you saw more active dads, and involved dads. People even staying married when they probably shouldn't have. More so just because it was best for the kids. Now you see like guys don't really feel a way about having a baby with the girl and leaving her to fend and figure it out. Not saying all guys don't feel like that, but you see more of that. It's like it's kind of accepted behavior.
Right.
You know, oh, I got her pregnant, but I told her I ain't wanting this.
Right.
So now it's not my responsibility. Whereas it wasn't like that. Like, no, you back in the day, you found out a woman's pregnant. Okay, we have to figure out what is life going to look like now that we have this.
Exactly. Like, even if I'm not there, I'm gonna make sure this taken care of.
Now dudes will have 4 or 5 baby mamas, and it's almost like a funny glorified thing.
It is. You know? It really is. It's like, okay, I got all my kids over here and. You know, all the mamas over there, you know what I'm saying? Like,
even baby mamas like, nah, they cool. Like, it's like
sister wives, they homegirls and stuff. And we ain't saying it's a bad thing. We just saying it's like a shift and, you know, it's what's going on. But, you know, that's true, man.
But the interesting thing is I think if you think about it, so I feel like there's nothing new under the sun. Anything that happens is stuff that has probably happened.
Have been done already, yeah.
So our parents' generation were just very good at sweeping things under the rug, you know, or just saving face. So it was a lot of that going on. People having different deities and you know, we're not gonna talk about that. We're gonna raise these kids this kind of way, and they ain't gotta know, you know.
Right.
But now it's just like, no, that ain't my.
that is not my responsibility. Like you said, I told her, and she went ahead and did it anyway, you know. But I see a lot of like backlash on social media about that. Like, why would you have his baby? And you know, he's saying he ain't wanted this stuff. Like, but who's to blame there? You know.
And I don't feel like that's fair to say that because a woman doesn't get herself pregnant.
Yeah.
Now you can make the argument like, okay, she could take precautions to lessen her chances of getting pregnant. But at the end of the day, she didn't just she didn't
get that herself. Yeah, exactly.
But then to say, okay, now if you don't want to get an abortion, then you just now it's your burden to take care of the kid, and it's not. You can't really tell a woman what to do with her body when you implanted the baby in her.
Right. And you got a whole seed, and you just go walk away.
You know, so
that's wild.
And it's just commonplace. It's not like.
It's very common. Yeah, like, oh, okay, I got, you know, this one on the way over here and this one on the way over here, you know.
Having multiple baby mamas now is just, that's the thing.
It's very, like you said, accepted. And it's one of them things, like how we say, like being a rapper and being from the trenches is popular. Having a few baby mamas.
It's popular.
And I just don't get that.
And the sad thing is, working in the high school, I feel like I see it happening really with them, even from like freshmen to seniors.
Okay.
Like how they even talk about like the females or the women that they go to, or the girls that they go to school with, how they like refer to them, or the relations or the relationships they want to have, or just feeling like they have to have multiple girlfriends already. It's like, dude, you're in 6th grade. Like, oh yeah, I got so and so and so and so. Like, where are you? Like, but they're learning that that's the cool thing to have. Exactly.
And you lame if you got like one girl you really like her, and you know, And like I said, it's learned. I feel like even with us, even with our parents, that's just kind of like how stuff was. Who can get the most this and that? Who can get the most popular boy? Who can get the jock? And who can get that?
And I was gonna say that's why you can't really even blame it all on like music and media, because it's our families too, like that perpetuate that. You know. Yeah. I remember being a young like kid and having uncles like asking me like, so how many girls you got now? And then feeling like, you know, shamed if I didn't have a number like that was gonna please them. Or like I remember introducing, like I was in high school, introduced my girlfriend to my uncle, and she was like a shapely girl. She had like hips and legs, right? And so I introduced her to him, and so she went with my mom and walked away. And my uncle was like, yeah, that girl got some nice legs. I don't know what you doing with them. And I'm like, what? Oh but see, and again, my dad is not the type of person that talks to me like that or would say that type of stuff. Right. So like, to me, I'm like, what? you know.
Like you supposed to say, I'm doing this with him.
But that happens, you know, and that's from your own inner family, your own circle.
Yeah, and I see it too. Like with my cousins, it's just like, dang, who was that, nephew? Okay, or like even if I go somewhere with a guy, it's just like, okay, you know, you hear it, you know, you introduce yourself and you walk away, and you just hear, "Hi, nephew" and stuff, and it's just like, oh, you one of them? Okay, yeah. So it's just commonplace, to feel like that, And like I said, as a woman, we pressured to settle down. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if y'all knew what we dealing with, and to just pick something and settle down with that,
That's what my friend always says. Like, the bar is in hell right now. For the bar that guys are like trying to present us with, But and I do feel that, like, because I do realize that a lot of women do have that pressure, like, to settle down, and a lot of times y'all often reminded, like, of your biological clock. You need to have kids by a certain age, and women in your life will make you feel like that too. Like, when you gonna settle down? When you gonna find a husband?
Mama. Oh, when I ain't got no grandbabies. My first grandbaby 10, 11, 12. When and it's just like, oh God. You know what happens? You remember your body, girl? You remember what happened to you?
Never mind. Like, you're not trying to focus on making sure that I'm in an emotionally stable and thriving situation, and then bring a child into the world. You just focused on that.
You just want me to come home pregnant,
instead of looking at the situation, your own situation or other people's situation that and being like, maybe I shouldn't encourage my daughter to do the same thing.
No, I don't know what it is. It's just like, it's just common. It's like, do you know the world we live in as far as like inflation and these men? And I try not to be that person to be like, men ain't, because I'm not, because I feel like it's all of us right now. But, the bar is definitely... It's under the table for sure. And it just make you not even want to just try. You know what I'm saying? And, I hear my guy friends complaining about it too. But at the same time, it's just like, we got to find, it's just everybody's goal right now. I feel like nobody is really feeling the marriage thing. Like you said, like, we just going to have babies and procreate and just have these babies all over the place. But
I will say, I think people might disagree. I feel like it's easier for a good man to find a woman, a good woman, versus a good woman to find a man that wants that, like, in turn, that's gonna do or provide for her in the way that she wants, emotionally, financially, all of it. Because usually a man is doing most of the things himself. He's providing for himself financially. He's making sure that he has his life together in most aspects. He just wants the love and legacy that comes with being with the woman and having a family.
Okay.
Whereas
the family and everything.
Yeah. Whereas it's not the same, like, with a woman.
The vice versa. Okay. So is it one of those things? It's like, okay, like, what can you really bring to a man's life, kind of thing? Like, if he can already do all these basic necessities.
Yeah, it's more so a man is dating one, because again, he's thinking about like his legacy. So if he wants to have children, or in a partner, someone to really share things that he's built with and build more things with. Right. Someone he can learn from and teach things to.
Right. Okay. Versus a woman, it's just like, it's that and more. You know what I'm saying? It's the protection. It's the, like you said, the providing.
Well, and because as a woman that's a good woman that has things going for herself, you have learned to provide for and take care of yourself. Right. So now having to go into a situation where you have to force yourself to become dependent on a man for that, that can be difficult. Even if you don't really have to depend on him because you have things together for yourself, there's a certain level of submission that comes with being in a relationship, man and woman, that can be hard for a woman that has been on her own and making it for herself for a long time. Yeah. It's like, dude, you expect me to bend and I've been good.
Yeah. You could really just, No, just playing. But like, that is hard. That's real hard. And it's hard to get a man to understand that. You know what I'm saying? And how do you feel like submission works now? Like, do you feel like women need to be more submissive?
I feel like we have a very skewed definition and perspective as to what submission is. Yeah. I feel like people automatically look at submission and think like, I tell you what to do, you gotta listen to what I say. Yeah. I'm the man, you the woman, I run the whole thing, and it's not really that. To me, submission is choosing to be vulnerable with the person and allowing them access to you in a way that you wouldn't give other people. We present ourselves a certain way to the outside, but when we really care about a person and we want to be with them in a certain way, we submit to them. And I feel like submission don't just work one way. It's not that women submit to men. Men submit to women too.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Because we submit desires that we might have and doing other things because we want to just be with her, or we submit financially. We do. I mean, both parties do.
Right.
But I feel like it needs to be looked at as something positive instead of negative, because now it's a negative connotation.
It's very negative. I feel like, you know, a lot of women might think like, you know, I'm not going to be submissive to a man. I ain't going to be on my knees. I ain't going to, you know, be big.
Because that is they think being on their knees.
Just doing this, you know. I feel like that's how people, like, if you look up submission, people think it's like this, on your motherfucking knees. So, but no, it's just like open up, like you saying. Like if somebody want to do something for you, just let it happen. You know, like we used to saying, no, I got it. I don't need that. You know, and it's just like, damn, shorty, like, calm down. Like, let me take care of something. But it is hard to like bounce back from that. And I was talking to one of my friends, and she was like, you know, a good trait of a man is a helpful man. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, stuff as far as like cars and, you know, I feel like a lot of men these days know more about like, you know, tax and liability investments and all of that kind of stuff. Like,
but they don't have the like hard skills like change the oil.
Exactly. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna call my dad then. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I ain't gonna say it's unattractive, but it's like, I need to change the tire. All right, let me call AAA for you. So, you know, and you know, just stuff that needs to be fixed around the house, or
I'm gonna say, ladies, if a man doesn't know how to change a tire, then that's no.
That's a red flag.
He needs to at least know how to change a tire.
Okay, yes. See, that's not happening, Tyrone. Y'all hear that? Y'all need to learn.
At least that. But no, I do think that has happened. I mean, I feel like even speaking personally, like I'm not a guy that has like a bunch of those like, you know,
macho skills.
Yeah, like if like when me and my girl, like if we were to start living together, I wouldn't. If she's like, oh, man, I need you to go and this fell down the garage, I need you to go fix it. I'm like, I'm gonna have to find. I'm gonna hire somebody to do that. I don't really have, you know. I mean, now most things I could probably figure out if I want to, but I'm not that guy. And I do feel like a lot of women kind of miss that era of men, like, you know, that were just extra handed, could just do everything, you know?
Exactly.
But I feel like that has also come from, you know, we are like, have pushed younger boys into school and education and college and a bunch of different other areas where they haven't really had to focus on them type of skills.
Yeah. And I think
it
goes back to what you said too, just the absence of a male figure. You know, just like, because my dad taught me how to do it. If I remember, I don't know. But, you know, I think, like you said, it's just that absence. You know, they don't have nobody teaching them these things.
Yeah.
And to get more specific about it, they took those things out of schools. You know, those like handy workshops or whatever you
vocational
call it.
skills.
Exactly. So we just going to school, going to college with degrees that we not even using.
Taking classes that, I mean, like, it's stuff that we learned that we like. Why did we learn the Pythagorean theorem?
And use it.
We never had to pull that out and use it for nothing, you know?
Facts, exactly.
But we had to just know it and learn it and be able to do it, you know? So it's like, whereas we could have been learning like specific trades. And granted, some schools now they specialize in like vocations where you're learning about like how to do certain trades or attain certain skills. But most aren't. You're just taking your basic,
right?
You know, 3 years of science, 3 years of math, you know, and not really,
English,
and not really taking no real skills from it.
Exactly. Like you said, it's just a lot of stuff that we really don't use. And I feel like if we can encourage kids, instead of just, like you said, learning the same thing, the same curriculum all the time, now by the time we get out of high school, we're tired of school because we learning a bunch of stuff that we don't care about. Granted, like math and basic stuff like that, yeah, we need to know. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like if we can, you know, when you ask a kid, like, you know, what do you want to be when you get older? I feel like if we can kind of get them into those things, you know, it can kind of encourage them to start the skill early, you know, because let's be honest, I feel like a lot of times when you hear about people who play basketball or who do music or whatever, when they've been doing it for 10 plus years, they're pros, you know what I'm saying? They already locked into their skill. So if we can start the kids young, I feel like that we just grow, you know, we just grow a lot more mature.
Yeah.
We just grow a lot more productively, you know, and we save a lot of years wasted on school that has nothing to do with what's
that we
going
aren't
on.
going to do anything with and taking on a bunch of debt for.
Yeah, exactly. So Biden, you just forget about that.
He done, now I will say I have seen some people that have like
Paid it
qualified for like loan
Oh,
forgiveness.
really?
Some.
Okay.
But there is a majority of people who haven't.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just gonna be a person that's gonna just be on the run from the rest of my life.
You can
Y'all
forget
gonna get
about
what
that.
y'all gonna get. That's gonna be
Right. Y'all let these people from the PPP loans, y'all let them
Right.
slide. So
I'm mad I ain't get one, really.
I don't need a time machine because ain't nobody in jail. Okay, ain't nobody locked up.
A couple times, at least been out
Exactly.
40,000.
Right. I should have started this. Then I could have got a Think Responsibly LLC.
Hey, you
got
would have
my
been
little.
decked out. You would have had had a whole little sign up and everything.
I would have been like, Tom, you gonna be Think Responsibly the engineer, okay? Have my name up here, But I just like having these conversations because, like I said, we a generation where we just kind of unlearning certain things, and having these conversations about men and women's mental health and how we relate to each other. I feel like if we can go back and unlearn those things and build better habits, I guess you could say, and just heal, like discipline ourselves and just create those better habits, we can just really progress a lot better than our parents may have. And I feel like you learn from other people's mistakes and stuff. So that's why I wanted to do this. And it's basically just a podcast about like I did monogamy versus anti, and this is hate or raised on love versus raised on survival. Just because there's always somebody on the other side, and I don't want anybody to feel like neglected or to shun anybody based on what they experience was or their upbringing was, because at the end of the day, we all live in this world and we got to coexist. And we all been through a rough 2 years with this whole pandemic of being isolated and stuff like that. And whether you was raised on love, raised on survival, it don't matter. It affected you. Because if you were raised on love in this pandemic and you had to isolate.
And that really was hard.
It was real hard. Because I had people, at work just sitting in my chair and they just crying like, oh, I couldn't see my grandkids for a year and a half. And, somebody had passed and the nurses got them on FaceTime. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And even like if you raised on survival, you might be like, this ain't nothing. But you might be a little bit more like outgoing and on your own. And still, it's, it's just stuff that you.
But even if you were raised on survival, you were affected by it because, one, it was affecting the lives and livelihood of somebody that we all knew.
Exactly.
Even if it didn't COVID didn't affect you directly, you knew somebody that had it or somebody that had a bad outcome from it.
Right.
Or you knew somebody whose financial situation was rocky because of it. They might have been laid off or, because a lot of that happened when the world shut down.
Right.
And so I feel like whether you was raised on love or survival, COVID really just came and just knocked us all like off our square.
Yeah. Remember we was like, oh yeah, they said it's going to be over in 2 weeks. Don't worry.
Now we in this thing 2 years.
2.5, well, yeah.
That's why they went from calling, I think, a pandemic to an endemic.
Epidemic? Endemic?
Yeah, where that means now it's just a part of our everyday life.
Yeah, because I heard
it's like
that.
The flu.
I think in Illinois on the 28th, I think Pritzker said just.
Yeah, now they've lifted.
No masks.
They've even lifted.
Yeah, exactly.
They've lifted the mandate in school, so now kids don't even have to wear masks anymore.
In school?
Yeah. Pritzker, I think, was trying to. He was acting like he was trying to, I guess, get it overturned, but from what I was seeing, I think they've lifted it.
Yeah, on the 28th, it's just like over with.
Free for all.
And us in healthcare, we like, okay, well, we can take it off. And it was like, no, everybody but y'all. So
yeah, I mean, because all I feel like it takes is just another random variant, and then what?
Which may happen.
Yeah.
Based on what they said, like we got another one out here already.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope y'all got y'all jabs.
No, and I feel like a word you keep using that I feel like is a buzz.
I'm pro-choice about that, by the way.
Right. Make your own decision.
Yeah, exactly.
Unlearning.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a buzzword, but I really like it because growing up, I know me personally, I put a lot of adults and people in my family on a pedestal.
Okay.
I didn't really take into account that their own humanity, that they could be flawed in how they raised me or the things that they taught me or the experiences that I had because of them.
Right.
Until I got older and I kind of started to have to realize, like, no, they're kind of, like, y'all fucked up just like me. Y'all are just kind of dressed a little more dressed up. Now I can see it for myself, and now I can see, okay, I love you and I love who you are, but there are also elements of you that you've taught me or passed on to me that I don't like or that aren't healthy for me. So now I have to unlearn that.
Yeah.
Because, and you might take offense to that because you haven't even come to terms with the fact that you need to unlearn
On your
that.
own, yeah.
But I know that for me, I need to unlearn that because that's not a healthy trait. And
Exactly.
it came from.
Do you feel like once you started to do that and implement that, like in your life, like unlearning these things, like, okay, I'm gonna stop doing this. Do you feel like you kind of lost people or like your life changed in a certain way?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's always going to be people who can't really take the reality of that.
Yeah.
And it's not ever coming from a place of being accusatory or blame. You know, it's just acknowledgement. Like I've come to realize these things about myself, and these things are a product of how you taught me to be or way that you made me feel in this way. And I have to unlearn that. And either they can be like, you know what, I can acknowledge that and you're right. And, you know, I apologize. I need to unlearn that myself.
Right.
Or they can be like, hell no, I ain't had nothing to do with that. You know,
Exactly.
that's on you.
Exactly.
You need to, you know, so either.
Yeah, she's doing me.
And that happens, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to hold themselves accountable for the
Right.
role or the person that they might have been. You know, we all are the villain in somebody's story sometimes.
Facts.
And sometimes you got to just be able to own that. And sometimes people can't.
They can't take it, you know. They just really can't take it, and it's just like, you know, it's just like, okay, I'm changing for a reason, for a purpose, and it's a good purpose. It's not because I'm turning my back on nobody. I'm just trying to be a better human being. You know what I'm saying? And like people for some reason take that shit personally. You know what I'm saying? Like, can this not be about you right now? Like, can I
like,
just?
in fact, I'm actually bringing it to you because I want to make you better too.
Yeah.
But you getting mad at me because you feel like I'm trying to blame you, and it's not that.
Right.
It's,
We gotta grow together. Mom, dad, you know what I'm saying?
and those are the toughest ones people to have a conversation with because, you know, mom and dad are always going to be their mom and dad. They don't feel like we can tell them shit. You know what I mean?
Perfect. Yeah.
Even if they know that we can, they don't want to hear it. And so sometimes we have to call them on the carpet too, and that's tough for them, you know? Because it's always going to be like, well, who you talking to? And it's like, it's
exactly.
not.
You want to be like, I want to talk to you about something, you know. I just want to bring this to your attention if I could, you know. Exactly. So.
But I've gotten really good with that in my adult life now, being really direct with my parents, like in terms of my feelings about things.
Okay.
Because I'm just in my life in general, and I feel like I don't like to admit this sometimes, but I have been like a people pleaser. Like I just kind of go with the flow. I don't really like to ruffle a lot of feathers. I don't really like to cause a stir most of the time.
Okay.
Even with my family. And so a lot of the times, like my certain emotions or feelings might kind of get ignored or swept under the rug, and I kind of just
suppress them.
Yeah. But as I got older, I kind of just let my parents know what it is and what it ain't.
Let them have it because it overflows. You know what I'm saying? You get to your threshold basically, and it's just like, okay, and they like, damn, Tyrone, like, you know, where this come from?
And you become an adult and you realize that you've been doing it. You're like, where did I learn this shit for? How long? Why have I been doing this? It kind of stems from that.
Right.
So
those things they're exposed at a certain point in our life. They're in our friendships, in our career, and just in our solitude even. You just be like, man, I do tend to do this. Or, you know, people close to you like might bring something to you. You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh man, why do I do this? Or where did this come from? And you just like, oh, okay. And you try to go back and unlearn.
Yeah.
And that's just the whole thing with this adulting and, you know, just progressing as people. So
you can't unlearn without acknowledgement. And a lot of times people don't really want to acknowledge what the truth or the present is, you know, to unlearn whatever that is.
Exactly.
We are, you know, the person that's ready to unlearn it is, but us trying to converse with whoever taught us that behavior, they may
that's
not be
damn
ready.
near the hardest part.
They may not be ready they don't want to talk about that shit. They may not be ready to own the part that they've played in that. So that's
you like I made up my mind. Like, okay, I have this going and you know, this is how shit finna be now. You know what I'm saying? I have come to this conclusion. And it's just like, like you said, it's just hard bringing it to people. Because, you know, like you said, I'm a people pleaser too. You know, I just like to, you know, please, but can everybody be pleased?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Everybody be cool.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem, nobody.
Exactly. But I also want to, you know, get what I want to stay off my chest. You know what I'm saying? So I think that'll help both sides, whether you raise on love or survival. If just having a space or just finding a space where you can, you know, communicate your feelings openly and just find a safe place. Because let's be honest, the safe place that was safe for us yesterday might not be the same as today because we growing, we changing and, you know, unlearning and everything. Yeah. So that was the episode today for episode 2 of Think Responsibly. Thank you for coming again. I do want to get something off my chest because I'm upset about it. This girl canceled my hair appointment today.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm wearing a wig. This is a wig.
It look good.
This is a wig. I never wore a wig before.
Really?
So it was weird. Yeah, it's weird. I just feel like.
And the funny thing is, because when I first met you, like we went to Miami,
yeah.
And I think you had your real hair out then.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even thinking nothing, but it looked nice. So I wasn't even really thinking nothing of it.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, guess who got it from Amazon? Not me. Not me. I did good.
Thanks for thinking of me and having me and just wanting to hear what I have to say.
For sure. And you're very educated, and I just thought you would be perfect for this topic, bro. So I appreciate you for coming out, and thank y'all for tuning in to episode 2 of Think Responsibly. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. You can call me Coco, and we'll be back with another episode. Peace.